Alright everybody, so what we're going to do today is we're going to jump into kind of the second part of relicing a guitar. I'm going to show you how I go about relicing a guitar neck. You know, I've been getting good response and I really appreciate it from everybody about like how to relic a nitro finish on a guitar. What I wanted to do is cover how to relic a guitar neck, or how I go about relicing a guitar neck. Before we jump in, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. So hopefully you find this video helpful. And yeah, let's jump in. This is a telly I've been working on. Once again, the finish, I love it. It's like a satin black finish, and I did an open grain on it and just love the way it turned out. Did a gold transparent guard, kind of Gretchy style. Big old silver tone knobs, and yeah, custom headstock. By the way, I'm gonna give huge props to Tree Tone Guitars, who's given me so many helpful hints on painting lately. He's been like a wealth of knowledge. I highly recommend you going and checking out his guitars. They're amazing. All we've got left is to finish relicing the actual neck. We haven't done that yet. Right now, the neck is just bare wood on this guy. When I paint a guitar neck, I usually stop at around the 12th fret and or a little bit further up and then around the 2nd fret. That way I can get like a natural fade into the lacquer, which is what I want. And I'm gonna show you how I do it. You can do this on pretty much any guitar neck, whether it's like a poly finish, nitro, whatever. If you don't like that glossy stickiness that you get from the back of a guitar neck, when you're playing, from like the sweat of your hand or whatever, if your hand sticks a lot of players like the feel of a natural finish and or like almost a satin feel to the back of their guitar necks. What you're gonna need is a few different things. First, you're gonna need sandpaper of differing grits. I start usually with a 230 to 320. I prefer to use this liquid stain. And this is a tobacco brown from Stewmac. These go a long way. So all you need is one bottle and it will last you for a long time. You don't have to use that style of stain. What you can also do is make yourself a mixture of vinegar and quadruple O steel wool. It's basically brings out the tannins in the wood. You can see it just looks like poop water. It's gross, but it works. It brings out more of a natural look to it in some cases. Now, every wood has like a different look depending upon the amount of tannins that are actually in the wood. So you will get varying results. It will bring out different colors almost, different tints within the wood. So just be aware of that. But we're not going to use that today. You could take your neck off of the actual guitar if you're worried about messing up the finish, but yeah, it's up to you. But what I like to do is I like to make the wear natural, and I'll do this with my hand. First of all, I'll sit here and I'll check, you know, where my hand sits, you know, so I know that I'm not hitting that lacquer, and I'm just gonna look and match that up, you know. So I could take off a little bit more lacquer here because my hand kind of sits right here, but I also want it to be natural too, and I know that more is gonna come away in time. You know, I'm basically only gonna probably be up this high most of the time on the 12th fret. So, you know, as you can see, coming up to the 12th fret, that's pretty much where I'm gonna need to be. You know, some players might be even up further and may want more taken off, you know, around here, and that's fine. But I'm going for as natural of a look as possible. So what we're gonna do next, after we've taken everything off lacquer wise and we've gotten down to that bare wood, is we're gonna pop the grain. And how we're gonna do that is we're just gonna take either like a damp cloth or a paper towel, wet it slightly, and then we're gonna wipe it on the back of the guitar neck. And the reason that we're gonna do this is we want all of those extra wood fibers to pop up, because they will raise up as they dry. That'll enable us to, or allow us to, really sand those fibers down to where we're just as smooth as can be, because we want it very, very smooth before we start applying any sort of oil or finish or stain or anything like that, because then you will feel that later on, and that's super uncomfortable. So dampen that cloth. We're just gonna take it, we're just gonna wipe this on the back of the neck. You don't need a lot of water on it. It's just gonna be lightly damp. So now that we've let the guitar neck sit for a few minutes, all the water is dry, and we're gonna take our 320 pad and we're just gonna hit it with this. The way that I found to make it as natural as possible is when you start getting up into the higher grits, start sanding a little bit more of that lacquer back. You want to leave yourself a little bit of lacquer because it looks more natural. You don't want it to just be like a hard line, because that's not natural. It just looks weird, and it looks fake. And we're going for, you know, we want it to look as authentic as possible. As you can see, there's still some lacquer in the wood grain here, and it's not a dead set like C all the way around. You know, I am coming a little bit over on the existing finish, which is fine because what we're going to do is hit it with some higher and higher grit, and it's just going to polish it out, and it's still going to feel comfortable on the lacquer. It's going to make it more of a satin feel, which is what we're going for. I would pop the grain maybe twice, if not 3 times in a row, and you can do this in like, you know, 20-30 minutes. Just give it adequate time to dry in between each before you start sanding. All right, what I've done is I've gone ahead and wet down this shop cloth. You can use a paper towel, you can use an actual cloth, it doesn't really matter, but it's pretty wet. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of my liquid stain. We're only gonna use like a little bit. And we're just gonna pour it out like that. Kind of spread it around to where we've only got a little bit on there. And I'm gonna squeeze the cloth and allow for it to kind of spread out in there, because I don't want to just flop that heavy part of the stain on. It will stain that part of the neck way more than we want it to. So you can see it's kind of spaced out in different spots, and it's not too heavy. Now I'm going to come with it like this and start kind of working it in. And if you see a heavy spot on it like that, you know, it gets a little too heavy looking, we can spread it out. Just make sure you do it quick with the wet part of the paper towel, and hopefully it'll take some of that stain out. So there we go. You can see it's already making it a lot darker in here. Now there's several finishes you can use when you're applying a finish to bare wood on the back of a guitar. So these are 3 of my favorites. We have a tongue oil finish. It's a low gloss, and I use that, you know, some of the time. This more sinks into the wood grain, and it's great, but it just sinks into the wood grain and doesn't leave you really much of an oil finished feel afterwards. This stuff is great, and this you can get at Stewmac, and it's basically boiled linseed oil, or polymerized, I guess, linseed oil and beeswax. And this is pretty much the most all-natural feel you're gonna get. It doesn't necessarily seal from the inside, it seals more on the outside. So this is a great option, and it feels really comfortable. Also, another good one is True Oil. It's also called gunstock oil or gunstock finish. This stuff is awesome if you can get it. It cures on top of the wood, so it doesn't necessarily seal the wood from the inside out like a tongue oil would. These are just different options that I use for a different feel. Just depends on what you want. So let's put some more linseed oil on it. Yeah, okay. So disclaimer and a word of caution: when you're working with any sort of oil, like a linseed oil or true oil or tongue oil, keep in mind that they are combustible. And so when you put them on like a rag or a towel or a paper towel or anything like that, after you've used that towel, it's really important to either wet that towel down and leave it outside away from anything that could catch on fire, because they will spontaneously combust until they've had enough time to like completely dry. Be really, really careful with that. Don't just wad the rag up and leave it in your shop, or leave it near something that's flammable or anything like that, because they will catch fire. Alright, so now that we've gotten our oil in, I've let it sit for around an hour and a half now. What I like to do when it comes to polishing the oil out is take a 2800 to 3500 pad and use that sanding pad on the back of the neck really lightly. You don't have to do that. You can just pretty much take a microfiber cloth and start buffing it out. There you have it. That's how I go about relicing the back of a guitar neck. Don't be afraid to make these changes to your guitar. You shouldn't, worry about hurting it, unless of course you have like a crazy vintage instrument, but then it's probably gonna have this wear on it anyways. Don't be scared to try it. The best way to learn is by experimenting with it. Feel free to reach out below in the comment section if you have any questions. So yeah, good luck with it and stay tuned for more videos, hopefully soon.